Figure it out.
I got some other stuff lined up. For this
It's too nerdy. Oh, we're rolling. It's too nerdy. I'll tell you, you were looking at that Yamaha guitar there, and you were saying you think maybe the strings are a little too tough on it for a beginner.
Sure, if you don't know calluses.
You need to. Well,
Rob, if you're starting this out with if you're worried about being too nerdy right off the bat, then buddy, let me tell you, you're in for a rough ride on this podcast.
Dude, I fell asleep listening to the album last night. I don't even know
I don't even know
iTunes
what
is
album we're doing.
My
Yeah,
iTunes is
I'm-
on repeat. I think I very well listened to the album all night because I woke up with earbuds in this morning. Like maybe out of like sympathy, my phone just stopped playing it after 10 times through.
I think that when if you listen to anything by Todd Rundgren in your sleep over and over again, he reveals who shot John F. Kennedy.
I've heard that actually.
Mm-hmm. So who was it?
That shot John F. Kennedy?
Well, Rob knows because he
You'd
was
have to ask me in my
hypnotized last
sleep.
night. Huh?
You'd have to ask me in my sleep. I can't remember.
What was the guy's name?
Lee
not
Harvey.
Harvey, not Lee Harvey, the other guy.
The guy
Jack
who really
Ruby.
shot him?
Jack Ruby?
Jack Ruby.
Did he do it?
Is this a Last Waltz reference?
Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
True. But
Fact.
I've seen the movie.
Which one? The one where
movie.
Mike Myers
the
plays
Oliver
him?
Stone one.
Isn't there one where Mike Myers plays him? Oh, no, I'm thinking of the
I'm
guy
talking
who
about
owns
JFK.
Studio 54.
To the back and left. To the back and left. To the back and left. You know?
My
the
favorite-
magic bullet.
my
and all
favorite
that
part
stuff?
in
No, that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
you use to cook, to make sauces. I use it for pesto.
I do
Magic.
power smoothies
In your magic
after
bullet?
I pump up.
Do you think they named it after the Kevin Costner
Kennedy
JFK
assassination? The magic bullet?
Isn't that what it's called? Isn't it good? You know the impossible bullet from the
It is called the magic bullet.
is it? I think
That's
that,
weird.
It is weird actually if you think about it.
Rob?
What do you think? He's still thinking about those 12 gauge
ladies and
strings on that
gentlemen,
Yamaha.
Yeah. I know that disturbs you, the gauge of those strings, doesn't it? For my poor nephew and his 19-year-old fingers. But isn't that good? Aren't you supposed to toughen yourself up?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Galliano Island, our guest today, Mr. Rob Butterfield.
Yeah, you know, we're actually really excited. It's a really exciting week for me and Johnny because his band, or certainly his band that he was in when I met him, the Shilohs, are putting together a little performance.
It's kind of the last waltz.
It's kind of a sister lovers thing for those in the know. So yeah, and Rob's come over to play on it, so he's here and as an avid listener, and
some would say last waltz. Others, myself included, would refer to it more of a hell freezes over kind of
interesting.
thing.
It's like when I sent you that video yesterday night of my back pages. You know, it was like Dylan, Clapton, Tom Petty,
Prince?
No, the Dylan song, right?
No, but he's asking if Prince was
Prince
there.
wasn't
Oh,
there.
no, that's at George's birthday where Prince comes out.
No, there wasn't that one. No, this is like my back pages, and it's like everyone. It's insane.
For Dylan's like 30th.
1992, Madison Square Gardens. Everyone's on it. Neil Young's there. They all take a verse each. And you suggested that it was a really similar vibe at rehearsal last night.
Yeah, I thought so. Kind of a getting the old gang back together feel.
Yeah.
Except Rob. Well, Rob, you were part of the old gang. Just not actually in the group, but definitely part of the gang.
Certainly part of the gang.
As the leader of the fan club?
Maybe. I was a big fan. I once saw the Shilohs play a show at the Biltmore Cabaret. No pedals. Just guitars, raw power. And, and you know, I think you were opening for Real Estate. And it was fucking mind-blowing. And it was also at a time when, like, that stuff was just becoming enjoyable to watch your friends be really good at music and not a thing that made you feel, like, immensely jealous that you weren't in the same situation as them. So that was a pure experience for me. I remember that show. I remember
See, Rob
the riffs.
always felt that way.
Yeah, I was
That's
jealous.
what put him
You were
above
jealous?
the rest of us.
Yeah, you were.
Super fan. I was singing in the audience. I mean, that's like top level corny if you're singing along to your friend's band in the audience.
It's true, I suppose. I mean, I could do it.
But it's
I could do
embarrassing.
Sister Rose, you know what I mean? Right now, if you wanted. But that, I digress because we're here actually to talk about Todd Rundgren's 1972 kind of bedroom pop masterpiece, Something Anything, which I was a little bit, we invite guests on and, letting them have a little bit of a kind of carte blanche about what they want to do. And I mean, I thought this one was a little bit niche since it's going to be bookended either side by something real big on the weekend, but Pet Sounds on the other side. But, it was really fun to re kind of frame my understanding of this record because it's probably been a decade since I really listened to it.
Well, I can tell you right now that it is a big record, but I know what you mean. It's not on the level of some of the other stuff we've done. But I'll tell you a little quick thing about this record that I knew it. I had it because it was cool to have it. I worked in a record store.
Certainly.
And it looked cool. And I knew I liked Hello, It's Me. And I saw The Light. But I didn't really know it until I visited Rob Butterfield on Galliano Island one time.
Interesting.
And he put on a record. And it was side 4. He started side 4 of Something Anything, which I guess I'd never made it that far.
Sure.
And you put it on, and boy, oh boy, I was just like, song after song, it was blowing me away. And you were like, Something Anything. And I was like, oh, now I got to really get into this.
Yeah, I hope I didn't say that too much like sass, because I had only really been in the album for like a year and a half.
Yeah, but these are the things you do. You pretend, like not you personally, but this is like kind of what one of the things we train people to do on this podcast is. This is a really good one for being like, Beatles, yeah, sure, more of a Something Anything kind of guy. Oh. Or really, if you wanted to go the full, hog with this guy, you'd go Wizard of True Star, which we're not going to do today.
Yeah, I didn't let on at the time.
Oh, did you pretend you'd known it for longer?
I'm only fessing up now. It's like 4 years later.
And is it not true that that's the way that your lovely girlfriend, sort of grew attracted to you was through your love of Todd Rundgren's discography?
As opposed to like Sticky Fingers or something.
You made sure to kind of tell her that.
I mean, that could be a fact, but I don't think that she can hear Hello, It's Me anymore. She has like a dent in her that's the shape of Hello, It's Me.
That's the first song he ever wrote. Ever.
Really?
It's the first song he ever wrote was Hello, It's Me. It's a Nas song.
Yeah.
And it's the very first song he ever wrote, period. And he re-recorded it for Something Anything. It's fucking crazy.
It's a good song.
Yeah, but imagine if that's that's your first song, first original composition. It's like that for a lot of those like 60s guys, and it's like, oh yeah, like our first song was like Jumpin' Jack Flash or so, like our first original.
I know the first song the Rolling Stones wrote, and it's not one you'd expect. As Tears Go By.
I mean, my point proven. Like, incredible. This is the first time
Andrew
we
Lou
tried
Goldham locked them in a room for 4 hours and made them write a song, and they came out with that, which I thought was so weird.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just come out with like a kind of 12-bar
Maybe
blues?
they were just scared of being in the room and they were crying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about what got you into this album.
The moment specifically?
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Ah.
Okay.
I was at Colin Stewart's house in Saanich.
Sure.
Wonderful guy. And over breakfast, he was like, oh, you've never seen that performance from the Top of the Pops. And I was like, I don't really know much about him. And he's like, oh, you need to see this. And it's him like miming Hello, It's Me, but he's got like a butterfly costume on.
That's right. Isn't it Old Grey Whistle Test? Oh, no.
I think it's Top of the... Or it's...
No, Midnight Special.
Something.
Midnight Special.
Jesus Christ.
It's something strange.
I was just watching something about it.
Certainly.
But, yeah, it was that. And then the song never left my head for like a year and a half afterwards.
Yeah.
And my dad had all the records. So my dad's way cooler than I am.
That's cool when you find out your dad was cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, but when you find out he was into like something fucking cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you say he's still a pretty nice guy?
was there ever a moment he wasn't? You could be a bad guy and be into Todd Rundgren.
Yeah.
You don't seem like the kind of guy who had a mean dad to me, Rob.
No, he's quite a nice guy. Yeah, I finally got I've got all those records, all the Rundgren stuff. Even some of the Utopia stuff, which I haven't touched yet. Disclaimer.
Do you have Runt?
Yeah.
I have it.
Ballad.
I don't know.
Great
if they're good,
record.
Yeah, do you have the ballad of Todd Rundgren?
Levon Helm and Rick Danko playing on that one.
You know who plays guitar in Hello, It's Me? Rick Derringer.
though. Did he?
Yeah, Rock and Roll Hoochie
Did he?
Coo.
Yeah.
He played on those sessions.
Well, the fourth side, that's all a band. That's the...
And the Brecker brothers.
Okay, James and I were talking about this, Rob.
Well, you know
and
who-
you'll agree, being a guy, Rob, who has a home studio,
Certainly.
For hire.
and that you'll agree
For
that
hire.
it's sort of like every young a guy like us, like, you know,
Young music aficionado.
like just every like aspiring sort of producer, like this is kind of like the wet dream record, because it's like you want what we all wanted to do was produce our own record, play the instruments on all of it, and have it turn out like that. It's kind of like more, you know, more than wanting to make like a Beatles album or something like that. This is the one that you're like, hey, I like if I work hard enough, I can just do this.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
We've all made lousy versions of this since.
And
Yeah.
no one's ever heard them.
No one will ever hear them.
But
no,
here's
because we
the-
like, because they're still in, like, they're still on my computer, but I still like tell people, like, you know, I just really relate to, you know, Neil Young doing Tonight's the Night. Like, that's how but no one's ever heard these things.
I
But,
think
you
we
know,
all more have a version of Tonight's the Night
Yeah.
that's really bad.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we'll all just get really messed up and hit record at 2 a.m.
Punch a hole in the wall.
Yeah, but not because we're trying to run XLRs through it, just because
Yeah.
you hate
And then
yourself
it'll
and
just
want to
be-
die because you're not as good as Neil Young.
But here's where I'm going with this, you guys. Bear with me a second here.
Certainly will, yeah.
McCartney had done it, right? Yeah. He made an album all on his own. Supposed to be super impressive. It's a lovely record. But it sounds like something he did on his own.
Sure.
It sounds like he tracked everything on his own, and it's very experimental. It's wonderful. Something Anything does not sound like that. And so for
No.
years, I thought, you know, you beat yourself up and down and all around.
Up and down.
And
tons
you
of that
think to
stuff.
yourself, God damn it, why can't I make something this good? You know, like he just works harder than me. He's more talented than me. Both true. But there's another factor. So I'm watching this thing the other day, and it's like, you know, Todd would go down to the studio and track drums and bass all day at another studio, and then he'd take the tapes back up to his house and do vocals and guitars all night.
Synths. He had
And
a
they say-
synthy too.
and he had a synth he would
big
program.
Sorry, a synthy 100. Not
and then they say, you know, well, how you ask, he'd work 22 hours a day. You ask, how could somebody keep up such a work schedule? They say, well, Todd had discovered speed the year before.
Yeah, man.
So I said to myself, well, there you go. I said, it almost makes you feel better. Because I think, you know what? Maybe if I had just taken speed all day long when I was 22 years
old,
old.
it didn't work.
22
I just
years
had
old.
a bad relationship. That's all that came out of that.
Yeah, you tried it? And you didn't
I
get
did
like
way
a
too
something
much
anything
speed.
caliber
No, I
record out
didn't.
of
No,
it?
that's actually funny though, because you read those rock biographies. Like, there's a really good one, like a Wizard of True Star. I think you've got it, Rob. The
Yeah.
book though,
Yeah.
which is about kind of his production career, and like it starts like all rock book, like journals and bios, and like all behind the musics and everything does, where it's like, you know, like Todd like tried weed, and it was like, you know, it's like, I'd been a teetotaler kind of straight guy, but like, you know, it's like I tried weed and it opened my mind, and I was
Yeah.
able to like, I'm like, give me some of that weed. Like, I never get that weed. The only weed
That's-
I get makes me buy like Domino's pizza
Well, I
and go
think-
to bed.
Both speed and weed at 21 are pretty digestible things. At our age, they mess you up.
Yeah, and also,
Well, yeah, but I'm saying at that age, we also didn't.
yeah. I mean, the thing is about the speed that I read about, because yeah, so he'd make the records, he'd do all the drums, which is insane that he'd just start doing drums to no click, just like vibing out, knowing all the
no
changes,
guide track.
knowing
He
all the
would
cha-
play
yeah.
to the band in his head.
in his
like
mind.
Stevie Wonder or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Stevie Wonder had no choice, so he couldn't.
He could hear it click.
He wasn't deaf.
click. No, he wasn't. Right. Yeah, that's a different thing. But could you play drums if you were deaf? I mean, Beethoven did a lot of things deaf. That's different. Wonder what
I
drugs
think that's
he was
a
taking.
hoax. I don't think he was really deaf.
I think
Lead
you could,
poisoning.
I have a
heard.
theory about that.
You do? Isn't he's also black too? You know, there's a genuine like
Beethoven?
yeah. There's a thought there that he was a black man.
Ludwig van.
Yeah. So no, I was gonna say, like, when I was reading about Rundgren doing Ritalin and like making
Yeah.
this record, it actually made a lot of sense to me, because the way he characterized it, which was he wasn't doing like 22-hour a day sessions. He was getting up at 1. He was getting to the studio at 1 p.m., recording from 1 till like 7 p.m., the drums and stuff, and then taking him to his house, doing speed to like do another 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
So he was only doing like 16-hour days, but it was like 16 hours days, intense focus, going to bed, sleeping for 6-7 hours, getting up and just doing it again. So what it did, it was just like kind of allowed him a little bit more focus and just slightly longer days. So it was actually kind of productive. He wasn't like binging on it.
No, and I don't mean
doesn't
that.
sound speedy.
I just mean it's
think.
interesting that when you hear these stories about people that they're often not that they wouldn't have been able to achieve greatness in their artistic endeavors without the drugs. I'm just saying, you always are kind of like, especially in the 60s when they had all these pharmaceutical drugs and all this stuff, they were really clean, they were really good. You're constantly hearing like the Beatles' entire career, like in the early 60s, was run on uppers and pills, right? That's how they practice so much. That's how they play. And I'm not saying this is like some recipe for success, but you're always kind of like, yeah, there's a bit of an advantage there, just energy-wise.
Yeah.
Because like we would make records and we'd drink and there'd be other things going on and stuff like that, of course. But like
it was also
you would
sacred.
Always get tired. I would get tired.
It was also sacred back then. Like everyone's experiences doing drugs just like sound so illuminating, whereas mine were just kind of like, all right, I'm on drugs now. They didn't make me like think I was gonna write like a masterpiece album. It just made me like go and look at like a cow in a field and find it more amusing than normal or something like that. I don't know. Whereas all these people,
maybe drive,
society,
it was a combination.
Society was probably like so repressed in the 50s, coming out of the 50s and into the 60s, that it really represented a seismic change psychologically.
Drugs were a pastiche when we got around to them.
Yeah, everything was. It was all fucking done. Everything was done by that point.
Well, and you are right that like it is something about like you take a bunch of speed in the 60s and yeah, it's more romantic, and you're Todd Rundgren making a record, and then like you're doing it in 2014, and there's more likely you just wind up on the corner like begging for change or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. I mean, but also like it was all happening around him. Like it was like the big cosmic sort of awakening.
Forget about it, man. Living in
L.A.,
Laurel
like Canyon, coming down
up the hill, driving
Sunset.
down the hill to just hit the studio,
dude.
Grab a taco,
just crushing it.
Keep working, keep partying.
Yeah, it's fine. Go and hit up Formosa.
Yeah, hit up the Formosa. Maybe meet for a couple of drinks. Got to get back to work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Maybe in the morning, go over to House of Pies.
Sure.
On Los Feliz Boulevard there.
If you're down there,
Luke's going to correct me on this. I'm like, say it's on Los Feliz. It's not. What's it on? It's on Sunset. House of Pies right there.
Buddy, I mean, you know me when I'm there. I'm only at the Canyon store looking out for Steven Tyler. It's the only place I go. Pache in the Canyon store.
Okay, segue. Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Bebe Buell.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
Doesn't she look a lot like Todd? Because Todd raised her.
He certainly did raise her.
Do you think that maybe Steven Tyler caught Bebe Buell in an elevator one time? Loving it up when it's going
down. Yeah, I do. But it is interesting that, and I was reading on some Todd Rundgren Google Chrome fan pages, I think you can have Google groups. I was reading a couple of people who were mighty pissed off about the whole Liv Tyler, Steven Tyler paternal, being a blood dad, whereas Todd Rundgren raised her. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to go through this because I thought it was quite interesting. I tried to see if I can. Here it was basically this woman. I might not even be able to do it here on my phone. I can just sort of wing it, but this woman was pretty pissed off at. You talk for a minute.
So Todd Rundgren raised Liv Tyler, right?
Yeah. He apparently knowing that.
Knowing Steven was the dad.
Well, not knowing Steven was the dad, but.
Do you think if he'd known Steven was the dad, he would have had a different feeling about raising her?
Was he a toxic twin at the time, or was he just like a upstart rock and roller?
Steven Tyler?
Yeah.
Wasn't he a toxic twin from day one, dude?
Yeah, maybe.
He'd have been in. I mean, Aerosmith is what, 1975 or something.
Todd, they're pretty not. Todd's a little older, I guess.
But
yeah.
listen to this. This is Chris Williams on Google Groups, a Todd Rundgren fan page, writing in 1996. I, for one, am getting quite tired of reading about Liv, quote unquote, Tyler, and her famous rock star father, Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. The truth is, Babe Well had an affair, closer to a one-night stand with Steve Tyler. She came back to Todd pregnant with Liv, and Todd helped raise her as his own. When Liv was 12, Todd took her to an Aerosmith concert, and supposedly that was when she figured out that Tyler was her quote-unquote actual father. Tyler's involvement in Liv's life up to that point can best be described as sperm donor. As a proud uncle of an adopted niece and nephew, I'm firmly of the opinion that the parent raising the child is far more important than genetics. But in her nasty choice of the more famous Steven Tyler, there is little doubt that Liv is her mother's daughter.
Wow. So,
wow.
Hold on. They went to
So this guy is obviously clearly unhappy that these guys they're besmirching Todd's name.
Who is this person?
He's just a fan. He's just a Todd Rundgren fan. And this guy's let's keep going here because it kind of gets interesting. This is from Julia Ann, and she says on the 3rd of October 1996. Hi, I completely agree with you. Another disgusting thing is that Liv had the cover story for 17 magazine in June 1996. In the first article, first paragraph, and I quote, "When Liv was 5, she wanted to be a firefighter. That was her idea of excitement. And if her life weren't exciting enough, haha. After all, she practically grew up in trendy New York City clubs and backstage concerts with her rocker dad, Todd. Aerosmith's Steven Tyler and her model musician mom, Babe Well, or BB Well. Liv's first... What are these people saying? Like, and then someone else... I mean, it keeps going. It's a good... Maybe I'll put this up, this show notes. And there's like a lot of... Like, people are really pissed at the way she is acting to Todd, besmirching Todd's name.
So they went to a show.
Yeah.
You're going to... take it from me, you're going to want to talk into that mic, buddy. I learned that the hard way.
Pardon.
Like, that's not a U-47, but...
Took her daughter to the show.
Yeah.
And then when she saw him up there, was it like their common interest in scarves or something?
Todd.
How did she know?
Todd, she looks like Steven. I mean, they look identical.
I don't know.
They look.
I heard she
anyone
had a
wanna look
poster of him on her
I
wall.
heard this, yeah.
And she used to stare up at it all the time
And say, fuck, they're a terrible band. They've not got ghostwriters yet in to write their songs. No,
and
that's
then,
not what she
then
it?
the whole story gets so weird when he like put her in the music video for Crazy.
Yeah.
Like this, like as James and I have discussed before, like probably the sexiest music video of all time, and just like made every young man
come. I mean, let's.
It made me want a tractor. Actually,
you preferred the tractor bit.
I like the tractor.
Yeah, I mean, and you like the tractor bit. I mean, did you? Is that the one with? Because is that the one where they, or is that no? It's in Crying that the guy from Lost is in it. In the video for Crying.
I'm gonna be real honest with you here, James. Don't remember any guys that were in the video.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Well, the guy on the tractor I remember. He was a very handsome fella, no shirt on. They leave him in a pool, don't they? They all run in, skinny dipping into a pool, and then he gets out. They get out and take his clothes. And
It's
then he
the
has
guy
to chase.
Sawyer from Lost.
Sawyer is in Crying video.
Sawyer from Lost
is in the Crying video. He's a thief and not Liv Tyler, Alicia Silverstone, because Liv Tyler I don't think is in the video for Crying.
Did I say Crazy?
Crazy's Liv Tyler. And I'm making it complicated.
Wait, who's in Janie's Got a Gun? I thought
no one's in Janie's Got a Gun. Janie's Got a Gun's just a really, really good song. The most reverb on a snare hit ever in
I like
the
Love
history.
in an Elevator.
Well,
that's where he met Baby Well.
This is where that's what it's about.
That's my theory. I introduced that.
That's what it's about. He did. It's him. He's always thought that. This is where BB... Is it BB, do you think?
I have no idea.
It's got to be BB.
BB.
It's a Hollywood kind of feel.
Yeah.
BB Glazer.
So
The hostess with the mostess. It's BB Glazer. You know.
let me ask you this: did the movie Thelma and Louise come out before or after the Crazy video?
The original Thelma and Louise?
Probably
It's got to
before.
be after the video.
After,
surely.
so it inspired by. It's a similar thing. Remember when they pick up Brad Pitt and they kind of leave him? A similar thing to the Sawyer character.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Interesting. I read a good thing in the Wizard of True Star book that on the song Slut on which is on Something Anything.
Yeah, SLUT.
Yeah, exactly. That so it's Moogie Klingman.
That one's not really wouldn't really go down
You won't be able
as
to go
well
it.
today, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Not at all.
But anyway, apparently, amongst other notable musicians playing on that session, a man that we know as Sergeant Detective Castillo from Miami Vice, Edward James Olmos from Stargate, provided the backing vocals on that song before he got into acting. So, a young Edward James, exactly, a young, yeah. I mean, I love that.
Wow.
I gotta say, yeah, lyrically questionable song, no doubt about it. But
Morally
boy,
questionable.
Yeah, more of course.
You know
But
about his
boy,
ass-
oh boy, what a rockin' tune!
Yeah,
hey?
well, that's the bit of the record you like the most when he's got the band in, right?
And that's not the Butterfield band backing him up?
It's Moogie Klingman put together a
Moogie
band. They've all got
Klingman.
great
I just love
names,
how
these
I just
people.
think that it's like when I talk about like how when you're young and you want to do stuff like that, I always thought it was just such a cool idea. It seems like something like a kid would come up with, to be like, I'm going to do 3 sides that are all me playing everything, and then the last side totally live, no overdubs, just
Yeah.
with a band, super raw and loose and live, and it just is so much fun. Like, and it's that juxtaposition is what
Yeah.
makes it such a cool
the
record.
whole record's about and I think this is I might do this in the future. The whole record is all about like a girl he was in love with, a relationship which was of no consequence to him, that he was in high school, and he just wrote. He was like, I don't know, I just wrote like all the songs are about that, but it wasn't of like, there was no trauma or grief in this or anything. It's just I just kept writing songs about it because there was distance from this like silly relationship I'd had. So the whole record is like just exercising this kind of concept, I guess, of like, I keep being able to write really good songs about this. You know?
Even the song "Some Folks" is even whiter than me.
Well, that might be a bit different, another one that probably you couldn't release anymore, but
Maybe
Also-
just as a backing track.
It's such a good one too.
Yeah, it's really
yeah,
good.
you
Great
like
sax
that kind
solo.
of feel. That's your kind of,
I like the music.
yeah. I can see that why, it's kind of,
But the best, my favorite one on all of side 4 for sure is "You Left Me Sore," which is so good.
What
and
about Piss, Aaron?
Piss Aaron's good too. "You Left Me Sore" though is so good, and the chords are so cool and beautiful. And then there's the part in the middle where he sings and his voice cracks, and they all laugh. That he left in. It's just like one of those great moments in rock and roll that people, for some reason, choose to edit out every single time anyone makes a record now. And those are the parts that are so much fun in
So
those old records.
endearing, human.
In Joe Cocker, "Feeling All Right,"
Yeah.
when it breaks down and Leon Russell does a and there's one part in the middle of that piano breakdown that he fully flubs the key and hits the wrong key. And every time I listen to it, I smile because they're just rocking out in the studio, and they're not gonna. What are they gonna edit that? Who cares? Like,
Tune it.
You think he's
we
from-
sound old, but man, I hate that shit. And why does no one ever put out a live album anymore?
Everyone tries, and then it sucks, and then they overdub all over it.
Tame Impala did a live record a couple of years ago.
Did they?
Yeah, it was all right.
Did it sound like a studio record by Tame Impala?
No, it didn't. It sounded live.
Okay.
It sounded really good, but it sounded live. And that's funny because I think that, in terms of rock family trees, you probably would say, if you were to get into the minutiae of it, that band wouldn't exist without Something Anything. Because it's a real bedroom psychedelic pop recording that when I listened to it now with a band like Tame Impala firmly in my brain, because I really like them, I hadn't listened to Something Anything for years, and I was like, my God, like you can see there's a lineage. It's really cool, I thought.
Yeah.
It was particularly in his melodies and the way he plays piano, the chords, the kind of like the constant like kind of bing, 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 this kind of thing, which I really like. But, I thought, it feels to me like kind of the original, like what you just sort of picking up on what you were putting down, the kind of original kind of bedroom home recording to some extent. I mean, Shuggy Otis, I was thinking the only other record I can think of from that.
Sly Stone did it.
So there's a few soul ones like Shuggy Otis. I wonder when Inspiration Information is.
We
what
can't
year?
we can't also
74?
press on without talking about the late great Emmett Rhodes here too.
Yeah.
Who also another California guy who made a record that sounded
Right.
better than McCartney, that sounded like a proper record and all by himself.
So is that the one you would use in the bar to pick up women? That's the
if I wanted to impress,
anyone really, for that matter.
yeah, I would probably start
Like you say, like a 21-year-old.
I would
the sort
start
of competitive.
I would start
kind of
at
feel.
kind of a Sly and the Family Stone, Todd Rundgren, McCartney
Start
place,
there.
but then I'd see when that wasn't impressive enough.
Yeah, you would
I'd start to
switch.
drop my knowledge on Emmett Rhodes.
Yeah. That makes sense. You'd end at Emmett Rhodes.
Mm-hmm. I'd say I have like a rare pressing of his original self-titled LP at my
Sure.
house.
Yeah.
Kvass? What was the name of the fake Beatles band from the fake
Oh,
reunion?
Klaatu?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You just put
Klaatu.
that on and you call it Klaatu?
more of a
Klaatu.
Klaatu guy.
Klaatu. Do you know about that?
No.
It's this band. It's this band in the early '70s that made an album, kind of proggy, a little bit Beatlesy.
Oh, is it the one they thought was the Beatles?
that they thought
Yeah.
was the Beatles under a different name.
Yeah.
It's horrible and it
sense.
sounds nothing like the Beatles. It's like how George. Have you ever heard?
That's
like
a great way to promote your music, though. We should do it. Be like, this is all McCartney songs that we've found and no one's ever heard, and this is our version of them.
Or just say we're a different podcast.
Yeah, we
Something
could
like
do
That's
that.
a really good idea.
Actually, like Neil deGrasse Tyson
Yeah, this is
on
actually
here with us today.
Yeah,
The Daily Show.
Talking about like Bill Nye is actually on today talking about how serious it is that we take this pandemic, seriously, wear masks and stuff, unlike Mike Love, who feels the exact opposite way.
he just can't believe there's all these people walking around wearing masks. It's not even Halloween.
No, it's not even Halloween. But at the same time, you gotta. He's stuck, Mike Love, in a kind of between a rock and a hard place with his beliefs these days. Because I saw him the other day he was at a Trump California rally, talking to him about how Trump has done like more than anyone for the arts and music any president's ever done, and then
Basically, by giving them that gig,
yeah,
like on the White
giving
House lawn
him and
or
Uncle
whatever.
Jesse that gig. But then I realized that the person stood next to Mike Love with the skunk from the Doobies. Like he was up there with him. They were doing a gig together. It was
What?
it was like musicians for MAGA. It was like Mike Love from the Beach Boys and the skunk, which was
Skunk
really
Baxter.
yeah, Skunk Baxter. Yeah, was riffing up there for Trump. And it's funny because
He must be really desperate, eh?
well, he works in intelligence, right? The skunk.
Well, are you
works at
sure he wasn't
NORAD.
just like part of the security
The
detail
detail.
and you recognized him or something?
So the first thing I thought was like, I bet the Cross has got something to say about it because
Uh-oh.
he's just and he wrote this. So those aren't the Beach Boys up there. Mike Love is, in the opinion of almost every musician I know, a shithead. Most assuredly, he has no talent at all, and as you can probably tell, I don't like him. So that's interesting. And then you got a fan responding here. Mike's cousin Brian got an ear and a brain straight from heaven. His cousin Dennis got movie star looks. His cousin Carl got the ability to sing sweetly and on key. All Mike got was a chip on his shoulder and the inability to not be an asshole.
But a God-given gift for playing the theremin live.
Ooh, did he play the theremin?
he did.
Interesting. Well,
I thought he.
can you write him out the Beach Boys' history? Could you say it was just Brian, Carl Dennis, and Al?
Unfortunately, not, because he did co-write a lot of those early hits.
Rename the band the Beach Brothers.
I'm curious your guys' opinion on this. Do you think that if Mike Love could get in a time machine and go back to when he was, 16, just having fun in the sun down in Hawthorne, California, that he'd do it?
I mean, I think he'd love to.
At his present age?
I think he'd love to, honestly.
He would have to get the auto-tune installed on. He would be bionic. That's the only way he could go back and sing.
I just feel like I'm joking, of course.
Certainly.
But I just feel like if I ever see one human being who more wants to just be cryogenically frozen in one body in one time, it's him.
Yeah.
Like in 1968. When he was 24, I feel like he was like, man, that was good back in 63 when things were simple. We were just taking
our coupe.
We, got our daddy's car and we drove to the hamburger stand now.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Me getting my Woody,
Sure.
Has he ever got any credit for being at the cutting edge of transcendental meditation?
I guess, was he in the kind of ashram
He
scene?
was.
Yeah. I mean, he really led the way.
Him and George.
I thought Donovan was the one who got the Beatles over there.
Interesting.
I thought he was a guitar teacher or something over there, wasn't he?
Donovan?
He taught Paul how to pick.
Well, yeah, because they were all hanging out. But I heard that he
Who's
gave
this
George.
Donovan?
No, the
gave
fact
George
is the Beatles hired him as a
Who's this
guitar
Donovan
teacher.
fella? Who's this Donovan? He's everywhere we go, man. Merseyside, Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah.
Donovan. What does he say about him in
What the hell was-
Pennebaker thing in Donovan Madden? Who's
I thought-
Donovan, man? When Donovan shows up in the hotel room and Eric Burden from the Animals is there and Donovan plays I wrote a song for you, and
I don't know why he chose that one.
and then
It always
Dylan plays
upset me.
Love Minus Zero.
But Donovan, he had better songs.
Well, he was doing a Dylan style.
I think maybe
song.
Donovan was kind of taking the piss there. And he was like, I don't need to do a good song for you.
he gets crushed.
He got his ass handed.
He
to
got
him.
crushed
in that.
That's what you'd say,
He
Rob.
gets crushed. He does. You're wrong. You're not wrong.
But Bob grabs his guitar. It's tuned down to drop C, and
he plays.
kills him.
He plays Baby Blue, and then on the outtakes, Love Minus Zero No Limit.
I know. What a
He
prick, though. Hey? He knew
crushes
he
it.
was going to crush him.
Well, he did the same thing with Stephen Stills and Drummond.
I know.
Tim Drummond, he played the whole of Blood on the tracks. Except that time, Stephen Stills had done so much cocaine that he told him he didn't know how to write a song.
Yeah. Well, he said he should probably buy a proper guitar.
Well, he certainly said that.
But that was only because the guitar was open-tuned, and so Stills thought it was broken.
What about Tim Drummond's nickname, The Moth, because he's annoying and he never stops moving?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
That's really
you ever
good.
see him on stage? He's the most annoying stage presence.
You know
Great
that-
bass
And
player.
weirdly, that Neil was called Flyface on that tour.
Really?
So there was a bit of insect
Insect feel to the tour.
to the Doom tour.
The Doom. Do you know that Todd Rundgren, the SG that he was playing for most of his career, was Clapton's by way of Harrison?
The Fool.
Yeah, and Jackie Lomax. It went from Cream era Clapton to Harrison, who gave it to Jackie Lomax, who sold it. And I thought this was quite a lot of money. For $500, he sold it to Rundgren in 1970. It's quite a lot of money, I think. And anyway, so that's where he got that from. And I read that he sold it at Sotheby's auction for $150,000, quite recently. So,
I bought it.
did you?
Yeah.
I'm
going to sell it again in a few years and try to make some
I think
profit.
that's what whoever bought it did.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what I read. That whoever bought it originally did.
I'm just kind of scanning here Todd Rundgren's
Production
engineering
discography.
and production credits, because if you want to, I'm
Stop
only at
Grand Funk Railroad.
2014 here.
Didn't you try and get him to produce a record of yours once?
I did. Good. I wouldn't have thought to bring this up.
Yeah.
But, and
Do
now
tell.
it's funny. It's actually quite a funny story, because at the time I thought it was absolutely out of this world, the situation. But
also perhaps more possible, weirdly, with that kind of naive perspective you had then.
Well, sort of, but okay. Well, so my band, the Shilohs, who we've mentioned.
And we got a big week this week coming up.
This week.
That's why Rob's in town. We're having a great time here.
Yeah, we are, yeah. We had the idea that I said on a whim, I thought maybe we'll get Todd Rundgren to produce our next album, the one that's actually out this Friday at your local record store.
Yeah, this is going to come out before then. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's fine.
We were like, maybe we'll get Todd to produce it. So I found his manager's website. And I found an email address.
Was it like Elliot Roberts maybe or something?
No, it was somebody else. And I sent an email and I said, very, very professional email. And I said, we've got this band, we're signed to this label, blah, 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 blah. We'd like to get Todd to produce our record. And wondering what the next step is in getting that. And I got an email back 5 minutes later from his manager that said...
Nothing desperate about that time frame at all.
No, they got... And he said, yes, Todd would absolutely potentially be interested in this, but we should let you know that we won't even entertain any offers unless payment of $50,000.
What's it called? Like a retainer. Like a retainer.
It's sort of a thing. I forget the wording. I wonder if I could find the email. But they basically said, just to let you know, Todd's rate is $50,000 for this, without hearing anything.
I thought it was like, go on.
So I went on, and this was the thing, is at the time I thought that was an outrageous amount of money. But now that I sort of know a bit more about the business, it's really not. It's actually probably pretty low for him.
For a full rack? I thought it was like 300,000.
I could be wrong about the number. Anyway.
Is he still going for that rate?
So the funny thing was that then I wrote back.
We're in a recession. It could be less now.
I pretended like that was fine. Yeah. And I wrote back and I said, totally fair. Here are some demos of our new songs. I sent them an email. I said, would you play these for Todd and just let us know what he thinks of them and how he would like to approach this? And he wrote back and he said, no, sorry, Todd won't listen to any demos until payment
Interesting.
is secured.
You can't get anything for free.
No.
That guy's email, you've got mail alert popped up. His desk is covered in trash and papers. He reads it. Things are flying all over the place. He calls you 5 minutes later.
I love it. Did you kind of feel you were kind of like Badfinger to Todd, maybe? Like it was kind of that sort of relationship.
It would have been pretty similar to that situation.
Like a straight up album.
Yeah.
But had you been going through production
he produced
difficulties?
That.
Yeah, unbelievable record.
Baby Blue.
Yeah.
From the finale of Breaking Bad, as everyone knows. I didn't know. And it's got such a Todd feel when you listen to it. Yeah, it does.
And the big drums, right? Because Harrison walked off that record.
Right.
George Harrison was...
Well, he didn't walk off. He was too busy.
Well, he was too busy with, Gandhi. He was too busy with, a starving population he got kind of called in to do the concert for Bangladesh, didn't he?
That's what it was. It was concert for Bangladesh.
He was but he was doing the album and he was like, sorry guys, I got to go. I got to do this concert for Bangladesh. So they had to fly in Rundgren to finish it.
He had real business to attend to.
Yeah. Real
saving millions of starving
people.
It's
too bad he didn't get Todd to come for the concert of Bangladesh.
Well, Todd was too busy killing
But
Pete
Badfinger
Ham.
made it.
Who?
Badfinger was there.
Were they?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Just drumming their acoustics.
Really? Apparently, there's some shade involved in that production. I don't know if you know about this. That when Todd Rundgren got involved in doing Straight Up, they'd already been doing it with Emmerich and with George Harrison, and he got involved in it. And what's the song? Johnny, what are the famous songs? It's not Baby Blue.
On Straight Up?
Yeah.
I don't know if I know that one that well.
I know it really well. It's killing me.
Not No Matter What. Or
no, that's way earlier. There's a song on Straight Up that is relatively famous, and George Harrison had been part of writing it, or he'd been in the studio, and Rundgren got in, didn't particularly like the song, but they redid all the drums, they redid all the vocals and everything, and then when it came out, he had no credit on the song, and Harrison was labeled as the producer. And it was the idea he was saying, that, it's the sort of hubris around the Beatles, like, and the obsequiency that everyone has. Like, you don't fuck with the Beatles. If they're involved with anything, even if they didn't do shit, no one's gonna stand up to George and say, oh, by the way, like, we're giving the production credit to the person who actually produced it, because it's like he'll just be like, kind of like mafia style, like,
Right.
You don't say that to any of the Beatles. They're unattainable, you know. So, and it, you know, that song ended up being really successful. It's killing me that I can't remember the name of it.
Just want to let you guys know I've found the email thread here, and it's
Okay,
quite interesting.
great.
Listen to this. July 5th, 2011.
Brilliant.
Lynn Robnett, who
Okay.
is Todd Rundgren's manager at the time. I don't have my original email, but here we go. Hi there. Thanks for your inquiry, Johnny. Could you have your record company president contact us?
President. I like that.
President.
It's kind of old school.
Yeah. If you are an unsigned act, there probably isn't much we can do, as we would require a minimum $150,000 recording.
That's what I'm talking about.
Fund.
US.
Dollar recording fund. Thanks. I said, hi, Lynn. Thanks for getting back to me. That's fair enough. Please forward our music on to Todd here to see if he likes it and has any ideas before discussing the details.
Love that, yeah.
Thank you for your time, Johnny Vane.
Love this.
Lynn Robnett. We have a strict policy of not presenting Todd with music until we know that the possibility of a deal is real. If you want to have your label president contact us, we're happy to discuss.
I love this. You should have
That's where it
got your label
should have got
president.
Jonathan.
You should have got the label president
Yeah.
to get in touch, just purely for the thrill of it.
And I guess that is quite a bit of money for musicians of
Dude,
our...
it's so much money.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is paying Todd Rundgren in the 2000s money to make records?
Yeah.
There can't be many people.
That's why I thought it would be...
Yeah, maybe you'd think
I probably could have got Emmett Rhodes for like $20K.
probably got Van Dyke Parks for 30.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Brian Wilson even. I don't know. Honestly.
Steve Stills would have been pretty cheap.
I mean, you get him with just a good bag in, he'll do it. That's all you need to do.
It would be the worst album. Imagine that session, like work trying to get a mega record with Stills.
Maybe that
Producing.
should be one of our, when we put a paywall up on Patreon, maybe one of our goals should be to do a session with Stills. If everyone pays us
What
enough.
about guest host? That'd be nice.
I mean, I think, yeah, well, you
No,
barely
I
can
couldn't.
talk.
I
so.
couldn't handle that. But I think write a couple of songs and go down and do them with
Kind
him.
of like with a Latino flavor.
Yeah,
he
well,
is the charm
he and I would have
prince
a
of-
lot to talk about in that way
Yeah,
because we're
you
both
could,
Cuban,
yeah. You
or
could talk.
I am, but he
Familia.
pretends to be. Well,
Well, I mean,
he is or something.
he grew up on military bases in Puerto Rico.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But he's like Jesus of the Conga, self-proclaimed.
That's what he says.
No, but essentially.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of like Nick Lowe, Jesus of Cool, Steven Stills,
Jesus
of
of
the
the
Conga.
Congas.
The Congas. Not the Congo. That would be different. That might be like fella.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of things that are complicated about that idea. Ginger Baker, maybe, actually, would be, if you think about it. You know, he's from Philly, Todd Rundgren.
I was going to bring that up. You listen to, well, so much stuff off that album has such a Philly soul vibe.
I was going to say, Johnny, like Philly Soul, you know?
Philly soul.
Kind of OJ's, Delphonics.
Gambling
Philly,
Hell.
Philly soul. You
Kind of
mean like
Philly
kind of
feel,
like
the OG,
Smokey,
yeah.
Supremes, Marvin, that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
all that
Philly
stuff.
soul.
Yeah, Philly Soul, real Philly
Marvin,
stuff.
like
yeah,
that
kind of like, you know, Temptation.
The Temps,
yeah,
Philly
Eddie
soul,
Kendrick, all that kind of stuff.
Jacksons, Philly soul.
Yeah, the Jacksons. Yeah, they're, yeah, and Diana Ross.
Exactly.
Tammy Wynette.
Ooh, yeah. Lionel Richie.
Martha and the Vandellas.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Certainly not the Delphonics.
And in the
No,
later
no,
period,
those
Rick
guys.
James had a bit of that Philly soul.
Rick
Philly
James,
soul.
we were talking about him the other day. What
Okay,
else
so
was he involved
I got to
with?
give a little background on that though, because it's so good. That because this is a segue to another thing. That Philly soul thing was. I used to work in a record store, and this woman came in and she said, I'm looking for some soul music, Philly soul, that kind of stuff, like real Philly soul. She's like,
Philly soul.
Marvin Gaye, Lionel Richie,
Nice.
Smokey, Philly soul
Smokey,
stuff.
yeah.
And I was like, like a record store snob, essentially.
Come on.
Yeah, I was like, that stuff's not really Philly soul. Like, they're from Detroit. It's Motown. All those artists you mentioned. She's like, no, not Motown.
The Philly
I know
stuff.
Motown stuff. I mean, like Philly soul, like the Temps,
The
that kind of
Temps,
thing.
yeah.
And then she got really upset and left. that I was correcting her on this.
Yeah.
And I said, you mean like the Delphonics and stuff like that, you know?
It's only the Delphonics and the OJs, isn't it, from Philly?
Yeah, that's
No
true.
one knows.
Chai Lights are Chicago, right?
With Stylistics?
Stylistics,
I
Philly?
think they're Philly.
Ooh.
There's
I've got them on
lots.
a Philly compilation.
cheesesteak.
And
That's a thing.
The only other situation like I was talking about, like, well, because what were we saying about the Red album and what was the other album?
Favorite Beatles record, real tough one. I'd have to say it's a cross between Revolver and the Red album.
This guy came in one time with his son, and I felt really bad, but I couldn't stand him to pollute his son's mind with this misinformation.
Totally.
So he was like, "Son, I want to teach you a little bit about my generation,
the generation that changed the world.
that changed." I want to show you a little bit how my generation changed the world.
We do things a little differently.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. And so he said, there was a little group called the Beatles, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the best albums that they recorded.
Yeah.
There was Abbey Road. There was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. There was the Blue Album. And he came up and he said, I think the Blue Album's the best. So let me go ask this gentleman here. And he asked me, I'm looking for some original. He said it like this. I'm looking for some original Beatles albums.
Yeah.
Like the real albums.
The real canonical
Rubber
ones.
Soul, the Red Album.
The Blue Album.
The Abbey Road, the Blue. And I was like, well, because he was really playing this out. I was like, well, the Red Album and the Blue Album, they weren't actually albums or compilations.
But they're really good.
And he was like...
They are really good.
He was like, let me tell you something, Sonny.
Sonny boy.
That's what he said to me.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Sonny. I was there
And
in
I
the
didn't, and I don't
60s.
think Nixon went far enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was there in the 60s, okay? You're not even old enough to know. He said, how do you even know anything about this music, And he said, believe me, I was there, and those are albums, and I would like you to point me in the direction of them.
Yeah.
So I did, and he purchased a copy of the Blue Album for his son.
I bet his son hates the Beatles.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And most other things his dad turned him on to.
Yeah.
That was like... my girlfriend Alex told me a story about how she met someone when she was working at American Apparel. Maybe you worked there too.
You could have. It's possible.
And somebody came in. They were listening to Bob Dylan. Chelsea and Alex were listening to Bob Dylan. And this woman came in and said, "Oh, you're a Bob Dylan fan, huh?"
Nice.
And they said, "Yeah, we are." And she said, "My generation invented him."
Nice.
Planted a seed.
I love that.
Invented.
It's kind of like, what's that called? When people, it's like
Cultivate?
the idea. Well, it's like cultivate, but it's like the Superman. It's not like the Ubermensch thing, like where people like a society, all these ideas in the superego are floating around, and they kind of great man theory or something. Where it's like everyone's coming up with these things at the same time. It's just that it's one, but it coalesces in one spirit. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just mostly just boomer culture, I think.
Yeah,
with that kind of
taking
stuff.
responsibility for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It's such a the stars are very different tonight. It's just such a shame that David Bowie never got to jam with me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That vibe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Todd Pilgrim. He's from Philly.
He moved west.
Yeah.
Well,
Pagan energy,
he was,
though.
He was
Wizard.
He was in New York and up in Woodstock forever, and then he went west, and then he went super west, and he's in Hawaii now.
Yeah, he's in
I
Hawaii.
think he's a pilgrim.
You do?
Well, but
he got dressed up like a pagan a bit. and
yeah,
some
he
of that,
definitely
but-
had a wizard vibe.
but
yeah.
loved Bowie, loves Bowie.
Oh, we've not
Potentially,
even got to that yet.
potentially
Right.
Starman. Could there be another, like someone from outer space that's not?
What?
Actually,
Go on.
Rundgren's real pagan feel. Actually, the more I think about it, yeah.
We got in trouble. Lots of fans of the pod, friends of the pod, have been sending me DMs of David Crosby in Hook, the movie.
That's right.
So he's literally a pirate. He's like dressed as a pirate.
And they're saying, well, he's acting, isn't he?
Yeah, he couldn't.
He
Act.
can't act.
You can't not. You can't. That's like you couldn't be your true spirit if you're acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
Dylan played a cowboy, and
yeah.
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
He's a pilgrim though.
Well, he's done it all. I don't know if he was a pilgrim at that point in his career.
Can you switch?
Yeah. Oh, Dylan's done all three.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Rolling
Depends
Thunder.
what. Name an album. I'll tell you which he is.
Desire.
Desire, obviously pagan.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Slow Train Coming.
Slow Train Coming is, well, that's interesting. But probably Pilgrim.
Self-titled first album.
The first album, Pilgrim.
Baby Fat.
That's
Pilgrim?
when he's Pilgrim.
Self-Portrait.
Self-Portrait is total pagan.
Okay.
Definitely. And pirate albums would be like, I would say, Oh Mercy.
Okay. Okay, like
the-
Tom Waits stuff.
Yeah, Time Out of
Time
Mind.
90s.
Yeah, more the later.
He
But
kind of
there are examples like no.
What about Blood on? We done no Blood on the Tracks. We haven't done.
Blood on the Tracks.
Pilgrim
is no.
But like Jack of Hearts and all that stuff's a bit.
It's kind of a pirate
shanty
feel.
feel.
It is.
to
It is. Shelter from the storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, it'll
yeah.
give you a
And then, like,
shelter.
if you see her, say hello. She might
might
be in 10 years. I
Yeah.
just got his voice again.
Exactly.
Living there.
The idiot wind blowing every time.
Yeah, buckets of rain. Buckets
Yeah,
of tears,
exactly.
all
Hard
these
rain.
buckets.
That's a bit of a pirate.
Tangled Up in Blue. But then,
Yeah.
but doesn't Desire have a bit of a pirate vibe then?
It's there, but I'm
You know,
thinking more
one
about his
more
scarf
cup
on the
of
cover and
coffee
his fur
before I
coat.
go to the valley
That's-
below.
Yeah,
That's pilgrimy, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a lot of cross pollination.
there is yeah.
You can't.
He's kind of a gangster on that one a bit.
Yeah.
Or just the one.
Real flagrant N-bomb on that record. Certainly couldn't do that anymore.
Good song though.
Great song. Still being recorded, I've heard.
Yeah. Well,
Like when you listen
I
to
think
it so long,
Reuben
it's
Carter.
just still...
Reuben Carter was okay with that.
Yeah, I mean,
N-word
he was
drop.
betraying the police.
Uh-huh.
He was, and the, authority figures who would...
ISIS has a real pirate.
Do you think you could...
Actually.
Do you think you could do the whole of ISIS?
necessary.
Do you think you could do the whole thing? It's about stealing jewels.
Yeah, it is. Oh, God. It's a Desire's real pirate. I can't come up with this shit on the spot. We need our listeners to send.
Mozambique. The sunny sky is aqua blue.
We need our listeners to send in their questions, albums, artists, whatever,
That we
and
can
then
deep
give me time to
research.
think about
Yeah.
whether they're
Yeah,
pagan,
I've
pirate, or
always
pilgrim.
said that.
It'd also be nice if the listeners did some like just quick sketches or drawings of how they see this person as a pirate or a pagan.
I agree.
Just take some quick screen grabs or
Take
something.
a
if
minute.
you're-
Think about it. We're
Doodle
putting
it.
in a lot of effort here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Immerse
no, you
yourself.
can't just put me on the spot like this. I mean, there's a lot of factors to consider, especially when you're talking about an artist like Bob Dylan. Give me a break.
Freewheeling.
Yeah, free will. I mean, I think of all the early
That's
ones,
Pilgrim.
Pilgrim,
All
all Pilgrim.
Pilgrim.
He turned pagan around
Speed. Doing Speed. Highway 61, really.
No, like,
Even
bringing it all back
Bringing it
home.
all, yeah.
That's when it kind of gets into that pagan electric energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Gets a little psychedelic. It's drugs.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
is
it is.
drugs,
I mean,
yeah.
pagan. The real druggy artists are definitely pagan to me. Aside from someone like Hendrix, who is like
Just because of his fashion. Pure
he's
fashion.
pirate
It's-
fashion, but his
Yeah.
lifestyle's very pagan.
Hot segue.
Yeah.
Todd was talking about spending a lot of time in the village and jamming at like Cafe Go-Go or whatever, and like spending time on stage with.
Laura Nairo.
Well, he obviously
loves
like
Laura
totally
Laura
ripped her
Nairo.
off and loves her. But
Yeah.
he said there was one time where he would like be up there with jam sessions with like Dwayne Allman, and John Bonham was the one he said he'd
So
got to
cool.
play. But there was one night where
Fucking
he
Imagine
walked,
that
fucking
jam
rules.
session in
there's
heaven.
one night
eh?
where
Yeah,
he
they're
said he was
jamming in
walking
heaven,
out of the club, and a short guy passed him with an afro, and he looked down. And he's like, "Hendrix? Nah, can't be him. He's too short," and kept walking. And then he found out later that Hendrix was just a short guy, and he missed his chance, and he was
No
bummed.
way. He could have jammed.
Coulda
Imagine that.
jammed.
Allman and Hendrix.
Allman,
jamming
Hendrix,
together.
Bonham.
And Todd,
And yeah,
because
I
he was
mean,
important.
Todd's
to the
got to
band.
He's
die
producing.
first.
This
I'm
is like-
talking about in heaven.
In heaven, he's not dead. They're jamming in heaven.
I'm talking about the jam going on in heaven right now.
That's on lots of those T-shirts you see boomers wearing.
Imagine
the blues.
if they
they're
all
playing.
jammed in heaven.
Imagine Stevie Ray.
So who's playing bass? We got Dwayne,
honestly, I think
Jimmy, John Bonham. Who's playing bass?
I'm afraid there's no minor thirds in heaven. I think it's all just happy major chords.
Lemmy on bass,
yeah,
maybe?
100%.
And who's singing?
What would
Aretha.
These days, they'd probably, she'd or Janice maybe, just for good old times.
Yeah.
more. There's a lot of options with that.
Big audition going on for that group.
Listen,
You know what I
those
mean?
guys are up there having a great time.
Do you think Eddie's Van Halen's a part of that?
Well, he's probably. Well, I think when you go in, you probably he's probably right now like just getting used to being up. First of all, being
Yeah,
up
you get
there.
initiated. That's what happens.
I mean,
Your
and
guitar never goes out of tune in heaven.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's a bit. What happens is you get up there to the pearly gates. There's like an initiation
Bon
thing.
Scott
They
could
ask
be-
you for like
he could be singing.
They ask you for all your influences
Yeah.
musically.
and then they
Rock
put-
and roll heaven at the gate,
That's what
and
I've
then
heard.
they pair you up with like-minded groups.
So he's-
but
yeah.
then some people like the real rebels.
Yeah.
They'll cross over to the other
They'll
groups,
jump
and that's
cloud?
When, yeah, they
Yeah, it's a
jump
cloud
cloud,
thing.
and that's when a lot of the real electric stuff, that's sort of jazz,
almost trad like blues jazz blues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they've been like, you know what happens? It's kind of like the end of Lost. It'll be like, you just imagine Eddie Van Halen right now walking down a deserted beach by himself, not knowing what's happening, and he walks up and he sees coming out of the trees.
Planet of the Apes.
No, more Lost, more of a Lost feel, but he sees coming out towards him Bonham, Stevie Ray, Hendrix, and they just and
Now,
you know,
see, I don't see them walking out of the trees. I think it's more like this. He's walking down a secluded beach.
Sure.
He doesn't know where he is. And he hears this music in the distance.
Yeah.
And he thinks, what is this? And
Yeah.
then he heads into the jungle. He's a
Yeah.
bit afraid, but the music's getting louder and louder.
and he trusts it.
He trusts the music and what he's feeling.
You have to.
And he pushes like a palm branch aside. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful lagoon.
Another
With
lagoon.
a stage kind of coming
it,
out
kind of like in
of
Vegas,
this,
like
the
you
start
see
of
the
thing,
fountain
and then
in
and then
Vegas.
it's just it's Stevie
Yeah.
and Jimmy and
they
Janice
just say,
there, and
"We've
they
been
say,
waiting for you."
We've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your guitar's here, like with the tape. He's got his
Your-
taped up
Your
guitars
guitar, your,
sitting on the
your
stand.
phases here,
Yeah.
and your drill.
It's all charged up.